I greet you in Jesus' precious name. It is Friday morning, the 5th of December, 2025, and this is your friend, Angus Buchan, with a thought for the day. We start off in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 27. Jesus says, preach it on the housetops. And then we go to Romans chapter 1, verse 16. It says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation for those who believe, first the Jew and then the Gentile. You see, there is power when we are not ashamed. You know, I'll never forget, on the 18th of February, 1979, in the little Methodist church on the main street of Greytown, Jill, my wife, myself, and our children went to church that Sunday because I was desperate and I didn't know what to do anymore. Well, there was a group of laymen there. The minister wasn't preaching that day. They were builders, farmers, electricians. They were sportsmen. They were just ordinary working folk. And they were getting up one after the other and sharing their testimony and telling people what Jesus Christ had meant to them. I was absolutely amazed because they were weeping. I hadn't seen people weeping before from the pulpit. Then the altar call was made and we went forward and we gave our lives to Christ. When we went home, we were sitting in the garden and a car drove in. And a man got out of that car and he walked up and he said, I was in the church service this morning and I saw you go forward and give your lives to Christ. Did you mean it? And of course, still a bit of the old man there. I said, of course I did. What do you think? You think I'd do it if I didn't mean it? He said, well, then I want to challenge you. The first 3 people you meet tomorrow morning, tell them what you did today. And after a cup of tea, he left us. The next morning, I was on my way to a cattle sale in my pickup, and I went to pick up my neighbor next door. He was a dairy farmer. And as we were driving down the road, I'll never forget it. This was my first time in my life that I had the opportunity of not being ashamed of the gospel. I said, Ian, I want to tell you something. He said, yeah, what? I said, yesterday, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. Well, his face went pale, and he looked across and he said, Angus, I'm so pleased for you. And I said, what about you, Ian? No, he said, that's not for me. Well, I want to tell you, about a couple of years went by, and on a Saturday afternoon, I was sitting in my farm office doing my accounts when the phone rang. I picked the phone up, and it was Ian on the phone. He said, Angus, I need you, and I need you now. I said, I'm on my way. I got in my pickup, and I drove straight across to his farm. And I walked into his house, and his wife was sitting there, and his 3 beautiful daughters. And he said, Angus, I need Jesus. Well, we knelt together on the carpet in his sitting room, and Ian gave his life to Christ. He's since gone to be with the Lord Jesus Christ. And I have never stopped since that day telling people about Jesus Christ. Today, stand up, be bold, and be counted. God bless you and goodbye.